From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
The president may have a plan to appease farmers angry over those biofuel waivers.
Coming up today on AgDay, are the small refinery waivers creating demand destruction for corn? We'll have that story from the Farm Progress Show.
Industry leaders are here at the show. We'll give you details on some of the hot topics coming up.
AgDay, on location at the Farm Progress Show, is brought to you by FMC, advancing chemistry to advance agriculture.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon, and joining me from the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois is AgDay's Clinton Griffiths. Clinton, organizers aren't kidding when they call it the nation's largest outdoor farm event.
Yeah, that's right, Betsy. We have pretty good crowds here at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois. Of course, a couple of really nice weather days aren't hurting matters at all. But there's also that air of uncertainty around some of these major issues like trade and biofuels. Of course, that all boils down to demand. Demand for the crops these folks are working so hard to grow. Betsy, I know those are the hot topics, and there continues to be headlines on both of those fronts.
Well, that's right, Clinton. We'll check in with you in just a few moments. The president has been getting an earful from corn farmers after the EPA approved 31 biofuel blending waivers. Now the administration may be taking action to counter that. Farm Journal Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer saying the president plans to unveil a package of biofuel-related programs at a White House ceremony next week. The package would leave the renewable fuel standard waivers in place, but would slightly increase federal mandates for production of corn-based ethanol and biodiesel. It would also allow vehicles that use high ethanol blends of gas to qualify for special EPA credits. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan is also at the Farm Progress Show, where she's been talking with farmers and experts about this. Now, Tyne, some ethanol plants have closed and others have cut back production because of these waivers.
Yeah, thanks, Betsy. Frustration over those small refinery waivers being voiced here at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, and those frustrations also being heard by the White House. But in speaking with National Corn Growers Association this week, they say those waivers are causing domestic demand destruction for corn right now.
I think it's really difficult to not make that correlation. You know, I mean, simply put, there's plants that are shutting down, idling all over the country, and so, you know, to make that statement, I think is it's just ridiculous. And so, you know, from what I see, there's a lot of demand destruction out there right now in that industry, and we're doing everything we can to bring that back and working hard with the administration to fix the issues that are there.
Ross says the main issue they want fixed is simple. They want the Trump administration to follow the law. If not, Ross fears how the ethanol issue positions the U.S. as a world leader in biofuels.
When we're trying to talk about trade and the meetings we've had where they're talking about, you know, promoting trade in ethanol at high levels in other countries, and you've seen, you know, China and Japan and Mexico talk about bringing in at 10% levels. You know, if we're not at least at that and moving to higher blends, it really puts us in a tough spot in a leadership position moving forward with those countries.
The National Corn Growers Association tells me that no matter what the plan is that's unveiled next week at the White House, they want to see those lost gallons reallocated somewhere else. Reporting from Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, I'm Tyne Morgan for AgDay.
Those refinery waivers, the ongoing trade war with China, and a tough spring planting season, all continuing to affect producers. The president of the American Farm Bureau Federation at this year's Farm Progress Show as well. Clinton joining us again from the show. Clinton, Duvall said recently the latest increase in tariffs between China and the U.S. signal more trouble for American agriculture.
You know, Betsy, it was about a year ago that the president of AFBF said that the American farmer was running out of runway when it comes to trade. This year, some of those same questions remain unanswered. Yes, the president announcing a deal in principle with Japan, but we're still waiting on all of the details. China, however, remains a major unknown, with tariffs set to escalate again on Sunday. Duvall admitting the uncertainty around one of Ag's biggest customers remains a concern.
Of course, it's running longer than we want. We need it done sooner than later, and that's what we continue to encourage the president about. Of course, we talked about that runway last year. They keep paving a little bit further with the mitigation payments, but our farmers, they don't want a government check. They want a level playing field and the opportunity to sell into the market, into the world where 95% of the population lives that we're not selling to now. So that's what we want. get there. We may not agree with the way he gets there, but we want that level playing field.
Also answering questions from reporters and attendees, USDA's Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue.
I think he would love to close the deal, but that ball is in China's court. We were very close in April, if you remember. We were actually probably 90% toward what would be a very good deal there. It was China who backtracked and reneged on some of the commitments they made. Apparently, President Xi didn't have his hardliners in as much control as he thought he did. And when they realized where we were headed, then they pulled him back from that. They have their political divisions over there just like we do here.
Perdue also catching heat over those small refinery waivers and responding to questions about reallocating those lost gallons.
No, I can't share the details of the small refinery waiver mitigation work that we're working on right now. I think that's really something the President is working very hard on. I think he wants to deliver that news himself, and hopefully that can be sooner rather than later. If you're asking when that can be announced, I think hopefully in the next couple of weeks they're trying to work on the President's schedule. I think he'd like to come out here and face the community and deliver the news himself.
Betsy, add in all of the uncertainty around planting and harvest, and it's been pretty hard for people to feel comfortable in 2019, even in good weather.
We can all imagine that too. All right, thanks, Clinton. We know you'll have much more tomorrow morning from the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois. A little rain to help the crops grow can be a good thing, and some beautiful things can happen after it rains, as meteorologist Mike Hoffman shows us.
Thanks, Betsy. Well, it never ceases to amaze me, the amazing things we see out in farm country. Check out this photo shared with us by Brianna of Buckley, Michigan. That's in the northern part of the state. Now you can see, if you look closely, an awesome double rainbow in the picture. Looks like one of those rainbows comes to an end near the barn. That's hoping there's a whole lot of luck at the end of that farming rainbow. Now, taking a look at the wind speed forecast, we're going to see a fair amount of wind across the northern plains, not only this morning, but as we head through the day. A cold front sweeping southeastward across the Great Lakes will increase the winds there this afternoon. Only spotty windy conditions out west. Heading into the day tomorrow, we'll see that cold front from the eastern lakes into the central plains with some areas of fairly strong winds, and that'll kind of spread through parts of the plains as we head through the afternoon hours as well. I'll have more on your forecast coming up. Now here are some hometown temps.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
Coming up, we head back out to this year's Farm Progress Show, where Clinton will have more on what it will take to get this year's corn crop to the finish line. And later, how this grapefruit became one for the record books in the country.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Wisconsin is leading the nation right now in family farm bankruptcies. That's according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. It says that from July of last year to July of this year, Wisconsin farmers filed 45 Chapter 12 bankruptcies. Take a look at this map and you can see it's not just an issue for Wisconsin. The areas in dark red seeing the highest number of filings. Over that same period, AFB reports Chapter 12 filings increased 13% across the country. Corn and soybeans both finding some buying interest on Wednesday, but still don't appear to be moving much as the market looks for fresh clues about the next move in prices. Here's an update from the CME.
Today in the grain markets, soybeans did rise. The oversold conditions did spark some buying. Much uncertainty remains, though, because of that late planting. Talk of even early frost is looming, and that has a few traders worried that gave it a little bit of a lift. The corn also firms up. The weather concerns did lift those futures as well. The ethanol production is on the rise, and that gave futures, a little bit of a bump. But for now, traders are still staying away from any tweets and reactions on anything that's coming out of the White House. There just has been too many times kind of, crying wolf here. We're not exactly sure where that trade war is going, or not really the war itself, but the resolution. I mean, that's what we're really looking for, and looking for for a little bit more stability in the market. That just is not on the horizon as of yet, and it could change anytime, but as for now, it's not really playing much of a role. Everything's going to be day to day, but we are definitely in a weather market right now. Today in the livestock market, the cattle was a little bit easier. There's quiet cash activity today, and the market weakness has some traders concerned that another significant step down is ahead. But we're watching that very, very closely. I think that so many markets and so much news has been coming out as of late and has fatigued traders, and we're not really sure which way it's going to go, but we're waiting for fundamental news to give us some direction.
Well, here at Farm Progress Show, we caught up with Chip Nellinger, Blue Reef Agri-Marketing. Chip, let's talk about what do we know about this crop right now. We got some new numbers from Crop Tour last week, but we also have another report coming out in September, and that's just a couple of days away.
Yeah, a couple weeks away, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks of trading days. The answer to your question is we don't know much about this crop, right? We're learning more and more every day. I think people are walking their fields right now in some of their June planted corn, and they're a little bit shocked, number one, at how immature it is. Number two, at maybe the fact that it's not quite as good as what it looks like from the road. So I think that the jury's still out. We had some help from Pro Farmer and that 163 and change number, but I think even they would tell you that we got to beat a first frost, and even a normal first frost, some of this corn isn't going to make it past that. So a lot of information still needed for this crop.
How does that impact our markets as we try to distill down where we stand on this crop, what the world's doing, what demand looks like? How do we try to pick out what this market's going to do going into harvest?
Yeah, I think one thing is the demand side. It's pretty negative right now. I think that's what's dominating the trade, is the lack of demand and how anemic demand is, and no China agreement right now. But I think to me that opens up the possibility for an upside price surprise if there's some sort of an early frost or a downside miss on yield. So I think the market's focused on the 90 million corn acres and 169 and a half, and they're going to go on that until proven otherwise. But I don't think even the USDA would tell you that they're super confident in that 169 yield. We haven't even done field surveys yet. That starts on this September report. So I think the market's kind of dominated in a bearish stance right now because of the big acreage number and the big yield number. But you know, the unknown right now is, can we sustain that acreage number, and or I should say the yield number, and are we going to have small downward revisions in acreage going forward?
Yeah, so many unknowns, and of course we got to get out there and harvest this thing and ultimately see what it's going to do and if it makes it all the way to maturity. Thank you so much.
Huge unknown.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. We'll be back with more Ag Day and a check of weather coming up in just a minute.
Farming has changed. Markets are riskier than ever. For customized, focused commodity marketing, contact Chip Nellinger or Adam Dreyer at 309-550-7213. Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Welcome back to Ag Day with meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, I have to ask you, what's going on with this hurricane?
Well, it's Dorian, and at the moment it's heading toward Florida. Now, a lot of things can change in that, and so we'll just kind of have to watch the track as we head into this Labor Day weekend. I'll get to that in a moment because Dorian is still off this map, but we'll get it on there as we head through the next 48 hours. You can see a couple of fronts right now. Stationary front across Florida, already producing some showers and thunderstorms there. Typical area of low pressure in the southwest, producing mainly afternoon variety showers and storms in a few spots out there, and the next cold front coming through the northern plains, putting things into motion. You can see also an area of low pressure moving off the east coast. Most of that really doesn't affect anybody. The far eastern portions of New England, especially this morning, may get a little activity. Then you can see some areas of showers and storms this afternoon breaking out along this cold front, Great Lakes, back into the central plains. Heading into tonight, you can see the thunderstorms might have a complex at some point in the central plains. Never know exactly where that's going to happen, but right now it looks like the eastern Missouri Valley most likely. High pressure in the southeast to start today, tomorrow, and the northern plains, and that's another cool air mass. And I'll step out of the way here. There's Dorian. That will continue to progress northwestward as we head through the day tomorrow. And that's why we have to watch it for Florida as we head into the weekend, especially the second half of this three-day holiday weekend. You can see other parts of the country, we are seeing showers and storms still across the central plains as that front kind of stalls out. in that part of the country. There's the precipitation estimates over the past 24 hours. Let's add in the next 36. You can see we're going to get some along that front, and of course anywhere a complex forms you can get a lot of rain out of it, and that's what our model is showing for parts of Missouri, eastern Kansas, and southeastern portions of Nebraska. Also in the eastern portions of the New England area, especially Maine, has a chance to get an inch or two of rain, parts of Florida, Texas as well. Now, temperatures, it's going to be very warm and humid still, Central Plains into the southeast, but more comfortable the farther north you go, especially as we head into tonight and tomorrow, because temperatures really cool off. Look at Bismarck, 49 tomorrow morning. Heading into the day tomorrow, highs only in the 60s up across the Canadian border, but still 90s as you head through the south. There's the jet stream. We have the ridge in the west, trough in the Great Lakes from the northeast. That kind of gets reinforced over the weekend, and it gets reinforced again as we head into the middle of next week. But that means it stays fairly hot, southern half of the plains, and of course we'll be watching Dorian as we head into the first part of next week as well. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We'll go to Yakima, Washington. First of all, partly sunny, an afternoon shower in some areas, high of 89. Waco, Texas, hot and humid, an afternoon storm around, high of 95. And finally, Ocala, Florida, warm and humid, afternoon storm in spots, high 92.
The heat is on in Cuba, but some farmers in the country's tobacco growing zone are finding fun ways to help keep kids cool. Community members in the province of Pinar del Rio helped create this moving tractor pool. They lent tarps, provided water, and are paying for the tractor's gas. Organizers say they're trying to make the area more attractive for kids so they don't move to another community one day. They would like them to become the new farmers of the future. By the way, the tractor isn't just used as a pool or for farm work. Sometimes it's pressed into service as an ambulance since the area has few motor vehicles. Coming up, feeder cattle markets have been improving slightly. We'll have those new numbers that are helping to drive it right now. Plus, something new is being sold at one KFC, and while it looks like chicken, it isn't.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com. Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
The cattle market has been doing better lately during the last couple of trading sessions after the last Cattle on Feed report. The report pegs cattle numbers at 11.1 million head. That's up slightly from the same time last year. The number's mostly in line with what analysts expected. It was also the highest August 1st inventory since the series began in 1996. Marketings of fed cattle during July totaled 2 million head. That's 7% above last year. Placements in July totaled 1.71 million head. That's 2% below last year. It may be finger-licking good, but it's not chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken has announced plans to test plant-based chicken nuggets and boneless wings. They're being tested at one of its restaurants in Atlanta. And depending on the feedback, the chain may expand the test to other markets. KFC is partnering with Beyond Meat to develop the new products. Beyond Meat also sells plant-based burgers and sausages at grocery stores and some fast food chains like Carl's Jr. and Del Taco. How do people grow those record-breaking fruits and vegetables? Maybe all they need is a little fairy magic. We'll explain next. You have to see something really big that's coming out of Louisiana. It's the world's largest and heaviest grapefruit. The Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry Commissioner recently presented a certificate of recognition on behalf of the folks at the Guinness Book of World Records. Mary Beth and Doug Meyer of Slidell, Louisiana grew this whopping 7-pound, 14.64-ounce grapefruit. It has a circumference of 28.75 inches. The old record was for a grapefruit in Brazil, and that record has been in place since '06. Doug says his grandchildren created a fairy garden at the base of a tree, and one day they all noticed this oversized grapefruit growing. That's when they all started to keep a very close watch on it. Doug says the experience will always be a special memory for them and their grandchildren. That's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.
Ag Day on location at the Farm Progress Show is brought to you by FMC, advancing chemistry to advance agriculture. Protect your season with FMC herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides.